Okay, so imagine breaking your arm and the only pain relief available is a shot of alcohol and someone telling you to just breathe. That's not a joke. That was literally the medical system for most of human history. You know how you take Advil for literally everything now? Headache, cramps, sore back, whatever? Your ancestors didn't have that. You stub your toe right now, you're popping an ibuprofen in like 2 minutes. For 99% of human history, pain wasn't something you fixed. It was something you survived. So how did they even get through the day? Turns out, humans have been low-key obsessed with fixing pain for way longer than you'd think. And some of what they came up with is honestly kind of genius. Let's start with the OG painkiller, plants. Around 3400 BCE, Sumerians were already writing down recipes for opium poppy, and they weren't being subtle about it. Their word for it translates to joy plant, straight up called it that. Fast forward to ancient Egypt, and doctors were prescribing willow bark tea for pain and fever. Here's the wild part. Willow bark contains a compound called salicin, which your body converts into salicylic acid. That's basically aspirin. In its natural form, people were accidentally taking aspirin thousands of years before aspirin technically existed. Okay, but here's where it gets less genius and more please stop. If plants didn't cut it, some ancient cultures got creative in ways that would absolutely not fly today. Trepanation was a real practice, and it involved literally drilling a hole into someone's skull while they were awake, believing it would release pressure, evil spirits, or whatever was trapped causing the pain. Archaeologists have found skulls from as far back as 6500 BCE with these holes. And here's the part that actually surprised researchers. A lot of these people survived. Bone regrowth around the holes shows healing happened, meaning they lived for years afterward. So somehow, awake brain surgery with stone tools had a survival rate. Wild. Now, here's a name you've probably heard but maybe didn't know. Had this history: acupuncture. Chinese medicine developed acupuncture roughly 2,500 years ago, based on the idea that pain came from blocked energy flow, called qi, through the body. Thin needles were placed at specific points to unblock it. For centuries, Western medicine basically laughed this off. Then in 1997, the National Institutes of Health actually did a formal review and found legitimate evidence that acupuncture helps with certain types of chronic pain, likely by triggering the release of your body's own natural painkillers, called endorphins. So this ancient nonsense quietly got a nod from modern science. Let's talk about something even more universal: childbirth, because this one's genuinely intense. Across basically every ancient culture, midwives developed pain management techniques that modern medicine is still borrowing from. Movement, changing positions, warm water, all of it shows up in historical records from Egypt to Mesoamerica. The Aztecs specifically used a plant called Cihuapatli to help manage labor pain and speed up contractions. Modern researchers studying it found it actually does contain compounds with real physiological effects on the uterus, not just folklore. Actual pharmacology figured out through generations of trial and error with zero lab equipment. Here's where things get a little unhinged, though. In medieval Europe, if you needed surgery, and you needed it before the 1840s, you were staying fully awake for it. The main pain management strategy was speed. Surgeons literally competed on how fast they could amputate a limb, because less time under the knife theoretically meant less suffering. One surgeon, Robert Liston, was famous for amputating legs in under 2.5 minutes. He was also, allegedly, so fast that he once accidentally amputated an assistant's fingers in the same swing. Speed had its downsides. And honestly, a lot of ancient pain management wasn't purely physical at all. Ancient Greek physicians documented something we'd now call the placebo effect, way before anyone had a term for it. Patients who believed a treatment would work often reported less pain, even when the treatment was basically nothing. Shamanic and ritual healing across countless cultures leaned into this hard. Chanting, ceremony, community presence during suffering. Turns out, belief and social support genuinely do affect how intensely your brain processes pain. Not magic. Actual neuroscience, just discovered accidentally centuries early. So here's the actual game changer, the moment everything shifted. October 16th, 1846, Massachusetts General Hospital. A dentist named William Morton publicly demonstrated ether as a surgical anesthetic for the first time. The patient stayed unconscious, felt nothing. The surgeon operating that day reportedly turned to the crowd afterward and said, "Gentlemen, this is no humbug." Within a year, ether use spread across the world. The entire multi-thousand-year era of "just deal with it" ended in basically a single moment. So next time you take an Advil without even thinking about it, that's not a small thing. That's the end result of thousands of years of humans experimenting, sometimes brilliantly, sometimes questionably, all trying to solve the exact same problem you solve in 5 seconds with a pill and a glass of water. They didn't have modern medicine, they just refused to stop trying to figure it out. And weirdly, some of what they figured out we're still using today.